Hello friends, I'm Swapna Shetty. In this video, we are going to learn how to write a user-defined exception and how to read through an exception and top 10 exceptions. We have different types of exceptions, namely built-in exceptions and user-defined exceptions. Built-in exceptions are those exceptions which are already available in Java, like arithmetic exception and array index out of bounds exception and so on. User-defined exceptions are those exceptions which are written by the user. So what are the steps to write a user-defined exception? The first is we need to write a class which is as a subclass of exception class. And we need to write a parameterized constructor with a string as a parameter and call the superclass constructor. Whenever user wants to raise an exception, he needs to create an object of the myException class and use a throw keyword to throw that exception. So let's see how do we write a user-defined exception. So in the exception samples project, I'm creating a new class, say myException, with the main method within the same package com.educators. So in this program, we are going to write a class which extends exception, and I write three arrays, namely account number, name and balance. So account number is an array with all the account numbers, and name of the employees, and balance is the balance in their corresponding accounts. So when I'm trying to print all the three arrays, I'll check for the balance. If the balance is less than 1000, I will throw a user defined exception saying your balance is less than 1000. So let's see how do we do that. So first I require the three arrays, that is integer array, namely account number, in which whose account numbers are 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004 and 1005. Next is the string array, namely name. I just say Ram, Sita, Lakshman, Vikas, Vishal. All the names in the array, string array. Next is the balance array. For that I will say take float or double balance array whose balances are so three arrays: account number, name and balance. Next I write a constructor. Firstly, my class should extend the exception class. Write a default constructor which does nothing, of course. Parameterized constructor with a string as a parameter, in which I just call superclass constructor and pass string str. In main method, now I'll try to print all the arrays. So for that, first I'll print the heading saying that account number and a tab, name and a tab and balance. This is the heading. And now I traverse through the arrays. So arrays are all fixed size, that is size of all the arrays are 5. So I just start my index from 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Now print it. System.out.println ACC number, that is account number of I, plus tab. Now name of I plus tab. And finally balance of I. So you can see few errors here saying ACC number cannot make a static reference. So public static void means this is a static method, so I can access only static members. So I'm changing all the arrays modifiers to static. So name, you can see static int. Similarly name also static, balance also static. So when I try to print the array, I'll check for the balance here now. That's after printing. I'll check if balance of I is less than 1000. Then here I'll inform the user that please check the balance. And through the create an exception object first, that is my exception, me equals to new my exception, and I'll inform that balance is less than 1000. Create an exception object and simply throw it and my exception. So you can see few errors again. Throw ME is showing unhandled exception. So I am throwing an error exception here. So I need to handle it using try catch. So I simply say put everything in try block. And then say catch and catch that exception whatever we are throwing, that is my exception ME, and just here I would print it. So 3 arrays, default constructor and parameterized constructor, main method in which I am traversing through the array and checking for the balance. If balance is less than 1000, then I'm creating my own exception class object and throwing using throw keyword. So since it is throwing, the whole code is within try block and I need to handle it by using a catch block. So let's run and check. So you can see it got printed till 1004. It is 998. The balance is less than 1000. So it is printing please check the balance, and stack trace is something like here the name of the exception, that is my exception, and the description of the exception is balance is less than 1000, and this is the location of the exception right here. So this is how we write user defined exceptions. Next is rethrowing an exception. So why should we rethrow an exception? What for it is used? So when an exception occurs in a try block, it is caught by a catch block. This means that the thrown exception is available to the catch block. So we can rethrow the same exception out from the catch block. Suppose there are two classes A and B. If an exception occurs in A, we want to display some message to the user and then we want to rethrow it. So this rethrown exception can be caught in class B where it can be handled. So rethrowing exceptions is useful especially when the programmer wants to propagate the exception details to the another class. So let's see an example of rethrowing an exception. So for that I need two classes. So I just create a class called B with main method inside it. So first I'll write a class A in which there is a method called method1. I'm writing a string str equals to hello, and I'll try to access the character from the string, that is str dot caret of, if I say 5. So definitely the index of the string starts from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I can't access the fifth character. So there may be an exception here called string index out of bound exception. So I'll try to write this whole code within the try block. I'll handle the exception. Then write the catch block. Here I would get string index out of bound exception. So here I wowould just print a message that please see the index is within the range. So for that I say system.out.println, please see the index is within the range. And then I throw this exception object, that is using throw keyword, throw SIE. So class A is throwing an SIE exception object. So how class B will capture it? Yes, first I need to create an object of class in order to access the method M1, method 1. So for that I say A equals to new A, create an object of class A, and then A dot method 1, call the method 1. So here when I call the method, I will get an exception. So this is a risky code, so I just write inside a try block. And within the catch block, I handle that saying it is string index out of bound exception, and here I would simply say I caught rethrown exception. So class A method 1 is throwing an exception. Here one catch block, it is rethrowing the same exception to the class B. So let's check. So first it was saying please see the index is within the range, which is printed from the method 1 catch block, and then I can see I got rethrow exception, which is printed from the main method of class B from the catch block. So this is how catch block is rethrowing it into main method of class B. So there are few top 10 exceptions like arithmetic exceptions. It is basically thrown when an exceptional condition has occurred in an arithmetic exception like dividing a number by 0 and so on. String index or array index out of bounds exception. It is thrown to indicate that an array has been accessed with an illegal index. Like the index can be either negative or greater than or equal to the size of the array. Class not found exception is raised when we try to access a class whose definition is not found. Similarly, file not found exception is raised when a file is not accessible or does not open. IO exception is thrown when an input-output operation failed or interrupted. And interrupted exception, it is thrown when a thread is waiting or sleeping or during some processing and it is interrupted. And no such method exception is thrown when accessing a method which is not found. Null pointer exception is thrown or it is raised when referring to the members of a null object. So here null means nothing. Similarly, number format exception is raised when a method could not convert a string into a numeric format. So string index out of bounds exception, just now we have seen, it is thrown by string class methods to indicate that an index is either negative or greater than or size of the string. So that's all with the session. Thank you.